What if I told you that lowering your blood sugar doesn't start by giving up bread, rice, or fruit? In fact, one of the biggest mistakes people make is focusing on what to remove instead of what to add. Every day, millions of people struggle with rising blood sugar, believing stricter diets are the only answer. But modern nutrition science tells a different story. Certain everyday foods can work with your body's own biology to improve insulin function and help stabilize blood sugar naturally. In today's video, I'll show you 10 powerful foods that may help support healthier glucose levels, starting with one inexpensive ingredient that's probably hiding in plain sight. Before we talk about the first food, you need to understand why high blood sugar develops in the first place. Because if you only focus on sugar itself, you're treating the symptom, not the cause. The real story begins with a hormone called insulin. Think of insulin as a key. Every time you eat carbohydrates, your body breaks them down into glucose, which enters your bloodstream. Insulin's job is to unlock your cells, allowing that glucose to move out of your blood and into your muscles, liver, and other tissues where it can be used for energy. But after years of frequent blood sugar spikes, poor sleep, chronic stress, excess body fat, or physical inactivity, those cells gradually become less responsive. It's almost as if the lock becomes rusty. Insulin keeps knocking, but the door no longer opens as easily. This condition is known as insulin resistance. To compensate, your pancreas produces more and more insulin. For a while, this keeps your blood sugar under control, but eventually the pancreas can't keep up. Blood sugar begins to rise, fasting glucose increases, and many people are told they have prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. Here's the encouraging news. Your cells aren't permanently broken. Research suggests that improving diet quality, increasing physical activity, maintaining a healthy weight, and choosing foods that support insulin sensitivity can help your body respond to insulin more effectively over time. That's exactly what today's video is about. The next 10 foods don't work by magically curing diabetes. Instead, each one supports your body's natural glucose regulation in a different way. Some slow the absorption of carbohydrates. Others support insulin signaling or reduce chronic inflammation. Once you understand these three simple mechanisms, every food on today's list will make perfect sense. Now that you understand what insulin resistance is, here's the question that changes everything. How do certain foods actually help lower blood sugar? The answer is surprisingly simple. Despite what many people believe, the 10 foods we're about to discuss don't all work the same way. Each one targets a different part of the problem, but together they support the same goal, helping your body manage glucose more efficiently. Think of them as performing one of three important jobs. The first group slows the speed at which glucose enters your bloodstream. Instead of allowing carbohydrates to flood your system all at once, these foods help create a slower, steadier release of glucose. That means fewer dramatic spikes, less demand for insulin, and more stable energy throughout the day. The second group focuses on chronic inflammation. Scientists now recognize that long-term, low-grade inflammation can interfere with the way insulin communicates with your cells. When inflammation is reduced, those insulin signals can travel more effectively, allowing glucose to move where it belongs. The third group supports insulin sensitivity itself. Rather than forcing your body to produce more insulin, these foods help your cells respond more efficiently to the insulin you already make. Over time, this can improve the way your body regulates blood sugar naturally. Here's what's remarkable. None of these foods are expensive superfoods or miracle supplements. Most are already sitting in your grocery store, and several may already be in your kitchen right now. As we count down each one, I'll explain exactly how it works inside your body, the amount researchers have studied, and the easiest way to add it to your daily routine. And the very first food on our list costs just a few dollars, yet many experts consider it one of the most overlooked natural tools for supporting healthy blood sugar. Before we begin the countdown, I want to make one thing very clear. This isn't about miracle foods, internet trends, or replacing the advice of your healthcare provider. If you've watched health videos online, you've probably seen bold claims that promise to cure diabetes in a week or eliminate the need for medication overnight. Unfortunately, that's not how human biology works. The foods you're about to see have been studied because they influence the body's natural systems involved in blood sugar regulation. Researchers in nutrition, science, metabolism, and endocrinology have spent years investigating how certain nutrients affect insulin sensitivity, glucose absorption, inflammation, and overall metabolic health. While no single food is a magic solution, the evidence suggests that consistent dietary patterns can make a meaningful difference over time. That's why today's video focuses on practical changes rather than perfection. You don't need to overhaul your entire diet tomorrow. In fact, trying to change everything at once is one of the biggest reasons people give up. Instead, I encourage you to build these habits gradually. Add one food this week, add another next week. Small improvements, repeated consistently, often produce far better long-term results than dramatic short-term diets. As we move through each of the 10 foods, I'll explain 3 simple things: what makes each food unique, how it works inside your body, and the easiest way to include it in meals you already enjoy. By the end of this video, you'll understand not only what to eat, but why it works. Let's begin with a small seed that many people walk past in the grocery store without realizing it contains one of the most researched natural fibers for supporting healthy blood sugar. It may not look impressive, but its effect inside your digestive system is where the real story begins. Let's begin with one of the most overlooked foods on this list. In fact, many people walk right past it every time they visit the grocery store. It isn't expensive, it isn't trendy, and it certainly doesn't look like something that could influence your blood sugar. Yet, researchers have been studying this tiny seed for decades. It's called fenugreek. These small golden brown seeds are naturally rich in a special type of soluble fiber known as galactomannan. While that name may sound complicated, what it does is surprisingly easy to understand. When fenugreek absorbs water in your stomach, it forms a thick, gel-like layer. Think of that gel as a natural speed bump for carbohydrates. Instead of allowing glucose to rush into your bloodstream all at once, it slows digestion, giving your body more time to process the sugar gradually. That means a smaller blood sugar spike after meals and less pressure on your pancreas to release large amounts of insulin. But that's only part of the story. Scientists have also identified naturally occurring compounds in fenugreek that may help support healthy insulin function. While research is still ongoing, several clinical studies suggest that regular consumption of fenugreek may improve fasting blood glucose and support better overall glucose control when combined with a healthy lifestyle. The best part? You don't need a large amount. Simply soak 1 teaspoon of whole fenugreek seeds in a glass of water overnight. The next morning, drink the water and eat the softened seeds before breakfast. If the flavor is too bitter, you can grind the seeds and mix a small amount into plain yogurt, oatmeal, or a smoothie. 1 tiny seed, 1 simple bit. Yet it demonstrates the first major principle you'll see throughout this entire video. The slower glucose enters your bloodstream, the easier it is for your body to keep blood sugar under control. And if you think that's impressive, wait until you see the next food. Chances are it's already sitting in your kitchen, but most people buy the wrong kind without ever realizing it. The second food on our list is probably already sitting in your kitchen. But here's the problem. Most people are using the wrong one. Walk into almost any grocery store and you'll find bottles simply labeled cinnamon. What many shoppers don't realize is that there are actually different varieties. The most common is cassia cinnamon. While it's perfectly fine as an occasional spice, if you're planning to use cinnamon regularly, many nutrition experts recommend choosing Ceylon cinnamon, often called true cinnamon. Now, what makes cinnamon so interesting isn't just its flavor. It's the natural plant compounds called polyphenols. These compounds have been widely studied for their potential role in supporting insulin sensitivity. Researchers believe they may help improve the way cells respond to insulin while also slowing the rate at which food leaves the stomach. The result is exactly what we're trying to achieve throughout this video, a steadier release of glucose into the bloodstream instead of a rapid spike after eating. Think of it this way. Instead of forcing your pancreas to work overtime every time you eat carbohydrates, cinnamon may help create a smoother, more controlled response. Smaller spikes mean less stress on your body's glucose regulating system. The best part is how easy it is to use. You only need about 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon each day. Sprinkle it over oatmeal, stir it into plain yogurt, blend it into a smoothie, or add it to your morning coffee. It works especially well when paired with carbohydrate-rich meals, because that's when controlling the rise in blood sugar matters most. 2 foods in, and you may have already noticed a pattern. Neither fenugreek nor cinnamon removes carbohydrates from your diet. Instead, they help your body handle them more efficiently. And the next food takes that idea one step further. It's often mistaken for ordinary broccoli, yet gram for gram, it contains dramatically higher levels of one remarkable plant compound that scientists have been investigating for its effects on blood sugar and liver metabolism. This next food may be the most underestimated item in today's entire countdown. In fact, most people don't even realize it exists. They see it in the produce section, assume it's just baby broccoli, and keep walking. But that's a mistake, because these tiny broccoli sprouts are very different from mature broccoli. When broccoli is only 3 to 5 days old, it contains exceptionally high amounts of a natural plant compound called sulforaphane. Researchers have spent years studying sulforaphane because of its potential effects on cellular health, inflammation, and metabolism. Young sprouts can contain far more sulforaphane than fully grown broccoli, making them a concentrated source of this unique compound. So why does that matter for blood sugar? One of the organs that plays a major role in blood glucose regulation is your liver. Even while you sleep, your liver naturally releases glucose into the bloodstream to provide energy. In people with insulin resistance, however, this process can become less tightly regulated, contributing to higher fasting blood sugar in the morning. Scientists are investigating whether sulforaphane may help support healthier glucose metabolism in the liver. Several clinical studies have shown promising results, particularly in people with type 2 diabetes, although more research is still needed to fully understand its long-term effects. Fortunately, adding broccoli sprouts to your diet is incredibly simple. A small handful on top of a salad, sandwich, or wrap is usually enough. The key is to eat them raw or only lightly heated, because prolonged high temperatures can reduce the amount of sulforaphane available. 3 foods. 3 completely different mechanisms. Fenugreek slows carbohydrate absorption. Cinnamon supports insulin sensitivity. Broccoli sprouts help target another important part of glucose regulation. And now we're about to reach the foods that can completely change the meals you're already eating. The next one is often avoided because of its calories, but that fear may be preventing many people from making one of the smartest blood sugar choices on their plate. The 4th food on our list is one that many people still avoid for the wrong reason. They look at an avocado, see the calories in the fat, and immediately assume it must be bad for blood sugar. Ironically, the opposite may be true. Not all fats affect your body the same way. Avocados are naturally rich in monounsaturated fats, the same heart-healthy type of fat found in extra virgin olive oil. Combined with their high fiber content, these healthy fats can help slow the digestion of an entire meal. Imagine eating a bowl of rice by itself. The carbohydrates are digested relatively quickly, causing glucose to enter your bloodstream at a faster rate. Now imagine eating that same meal with half an avocado. The healthy fats and fiber act almost like a natural brake, slowing digestion and creating a more gradual release of glucose instead of a sharp spike. But that's only part of the benefit. Scientists have also found that diets rich in monounsaturated fats are associated with better insulin sensitivity and improved metabolic health. While no single food is a cure, replacing highly processed fats with nutrient-rich foods like avocado is one practical strategy that fits well within an overall healthy eating pattern. Adding avocado to your routine couldn't be easier. Half of a medium avocado each day is enough for most people. Slice it over eggs at breakfast, spread it on whole grain toast, add it to a salad, or serve it alongside grilled chicken or fish. Instead of removing carbohydrates completely, you're building a meal that your body can process more steadily. Notice what's happening as we move through this list. None of these foods ask you to stop eating. They simply help your body respond more efficiently to the foods you already enjoy. And the next food may be even more impressive. It's incredibly small, yet once it touches water, it transforms into something that can dramatically slow the absorption of carbohydrates. You've probably seen it in smoothies and puddings, but very few people understand what it's actually doing inside the body. The 5th food on our list may be tiny, but don't let its size fool you. In fact, once you understand what happens when chia seeds come into contact with water, you'll immediately understand why they've become one of the most studied functional foods for blood sugar support. If you've ever made chia pudding, you've seen the science with your own eyes. Within minutes, these tiny black seeds absorb water and expand into a thick, gel-like coating. Now imagine that same process taking place inside your digestive system. That natural gel slows the movement of food through your stomach and small intestine. Instead of carbohydrates being digested all at once, glucose is released more gradually into your bloodstream. The result is a steadier rise in blood sugar, less demand for insulin, and fewer dramatic energy crashes later in the day. But chia seeds offer another important advantage. They're also one of the richest plant sources of soluble fiber and alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 fat. Scientists continue to study how diets rich in fiber and healthy fats support metabolic health by helping reduce chronic inflammation, one of the key factors linked to insulin resistance. The best part is that chia seeds fit into almost any meal. Simply add 1 to 2 tablespoons a day to plain yogurt, oatmeal, smoothies, or even a glass of water with fresh lemon juice. Let the seeds soak for about 10 minutes before eating, and remember to drink enough water throughout the day since soluble fiber absorbs a significant amount of liquid. By now you may have noticed something interesting. None of the foods we've covered are expensive supplements or miracle cures. They're ordinary foods working with your body's natural biology. And now we're about to move beyond slowing sugar absorption. The next food targets something even deeper, the chronic inflammation that quietly interferes with insulin signaling year after year. It's one of the healthiest proteins you can eat, and it may be far more powerful than most people realize. So far, every food we've discussed has helped slow the rise of blood sugar after a meal. But this next food works in a completely different way. Instead of focusing on the sugar itself, it targets one of the underlying problems that often develops long before blood sugar begins to rise: chronic inflammation. For years, scientists have discovered that persistent, low-grade inflammation can interfere with the way insulin communicates with your cells. Imagine trying to have a conversation in a room filled with loud background noise. The message doesn't disappear, it simply becomes much harder to hear. In a similar way, inflammation can make insulin's signal less effective, forcing your body to produce more insulin just to accomplish the same job. This is where fatty fish comes in. Fish such as salmon, sardines, mackerel, and herring are naturally rich in 2 important omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA. Unlike many other nutrients, these omega-3s have been extensively studied for their role in supporting a healthy inflammatory response and overall cardiovascular health. By helping maintain healthier cell membranes and reducing inflammatory signaling, they may also support normal insulin function as part of an overall healthy diet. The recommendation is refreshingly simple. Aim for 2 servings of fatty fish each week, with each serving about the size of your palm. Fresh, frozen, or even canned varieties packed in water or olive oil can all be practical options. Bake it, grill it, or add canned salmon or sardines to a salad for an easy, nutrient-rich meal. Now the pattern becomes even clearer. Healthy blood sugar isn't only about avoiding sugar. It's also about creating an internal environment where your cells can respond to insulin the way they were designed to. And the next food does exactly that while also protecting something that high blood sugar silently damages every single day: your blood vessels. It's a simple snack that many people overlook, yet research suggests it may support both heart health and metabolic health at the same time. The 7th food on today's list is something you can carry in your pocket. No preparation, no cooking, no complicated recipe, just a handful each day. Yet researchers continue to study it for its impressive effects on both heart health and blood sugar. I'm talking about walnuts. Most people think of walnuts as nothing more than a healthy snack, but inside every walnut is a unique combination of healthy fats, plant-based omega-3s, fiber, protein, and polyphenols that work together in ways many people never realize. Here's why that matters. When you eat a meal that's high in refined carbohydrates, blood sugar rises quickly. But when walnuts replace processed snacks or are added to a balanced meal, their combination of fat, fiber, and protein helps slow digestion and increase fullness. Instead of experiencing a rapid spike followed by an energy crash, your body receives a steadier supply of nutrients. Researchers have also found that regular walnut consumption is associated with improvements in overall diet quality and may support insulin sensitivity and cardiovascular health as part of a healthy eating pattern. This is especially important because people with elevated blood sugar are also at greater risk of heart disease. The amount is surprisingly small. A small handful, about 1/4 cup, or 7 to 10 walnut halves, is enough for most people. Keep them raw or dry roasted without added sugar or candy coatings. Better yet, use them as a replacement for chips, cookies, or other highly processed snacks rather than simply adding extra calories to your day. Notice what's happening as we move further down this list. We're no longer talking about individual foods. We're slowly rebuilding an eating pattern that helps your body work the way it was designed to. And the next food may completely change the way you think about breakfast. For years, many people were told to avoid it because of cholesterol. Today, nutrition science tells a very different story, and it may be one of the easiest swaps you can make to support healthier blood sugar throughout the entire day. The 8th food on our list is one that has been surrounded by confusion for decades. For years, people were told to avoid eggs because of cholesterol. Many replaced them with breakfast cereals, toast, or low-fat processed foods, believing they were making the healthier choice. Ironically, for blood sugar, that decision often had the opposite effect. Unlike cereal or white toast, whole eggs contain almost no carbohydrates. That means eating eggs by themselves produces very little increase in blood glucose. Instead of causing a rapid spike in blood sugar, they provide high-quality protein and healthy fats that help keep you satisfied for hours. But here's the part most people never hear. Researchers have observed what's known as the second meal effect. When breakfast is rich in protein instead of refined carbohydrates, blood sugar control at the next meal is often improved. In other words, choosing eggs in the morning doesn't just influence breakfast, it may help your body respond more steadily at lunch as well. There's another advantage. Protein is one of the most filling nutrients you can eat. Starting your day with eggs may reduce. A practical serving for most healthy adults is 2 to 3 whole eggs, prepared in a way that fits an overall balanced diet. Pair them with vegetables like spinach, tomatoes, or mushrooms, and add healthy fats such as avocado for an even more satisfying meal. By building breakfast around protein, fiber, and healthy fats instead of refined carbohydrates alone, you're creating a meal that supports steadier energy throughout the day. We've now covered 8 powerful foods, and together they're beginning to tell one remarkable story. You don't have to fight your body. You simply need to give it the nutrients that help it do the job it was designed to do, and the next food may deliver one of the fastest changes you can actually see on a home glucose meter. It's inexpensive, probably already sitting in your kitchen, and its effects begin before your meal even starts. The 9th food on today's list is one of the simplest and one of the most talked about. In fact, if you own a home glucose meter, this may be one of the few foods where you can actually observe a difference in your post-meal blood sugar over time when it's used as part of an overall healthy eating plan. I'm talking about apple cider vinegar. The key ingredient is acetic acid. Researchers have been studying acetic acid for years because it appears to influence the way your body handles carbohydrates after a meal. One proposed mechanism is that it slows the rate at which food leaves the stomach, allowing glucose to enter the bloodstream more gradually instead of all at once. Some studies also suggest it may support the uptake of glucose into muscle tissue, although responses vary from person to person. Why does that matter? Because the biggest blood sugar spikes often occur immediately after eating carbohydrate-rich meals. Slowing that rise can help reduce the demand placed on your body's insulin response. Fortunately, using apple cider vinegar is incredibly simple. Mix 1 tablespoon into a full glass of water and drink it about 10 to 15 minutes before a meal that contains carbohydrates. Never drink it straight. The acidity can irritate your throat and gradually wear away tooth enamel. If you already take medication to lower blood sugar, it's important to speak with your healthcare provider before making vinegar a daily habit, since combining the two may increase the risk of blood sugar dropping too low. By now, you can probably see the pattern. Small changes, simple foods, powerful biological effects when practiced consistently. But the final food on today's list may surprise you the most. Most people think lowering blood sugar means avoiding carbohydrates altogether. Ironically, our last food is a carbohydrate, and yet it has become one of the most recommended foods for supporting stable blood sugar in nutrition research. Don't miss it, because it brings everything we've discussed today full circle. We finally reached the last food on today's list. And ironically, it's the one that completely challenges everything most people believe about blood sugar. Because this food is a carbohydrate. It's lentils. For years, people with high blood sugar have been told to fear carbohydrates, so when they hear the word lentils, many assume they're off limits. But nutrition science tells a much more interesting story. Not all carbohydrates behave the same way inside your body. Lentils are naturally packed with soluble fiber, plant protein, and resistant starch, a unique type of carbohydrate that is digested much more slowly than refined starches like white bread or white rice. Instead of flooding your bloodstream with glucose, lentils release energy gradually, giving your body more time to respond with the insulin it already produces. That's one reason lentils have a low glycemic index, meaning they generally produce a slower and smaller rise in blood sugar compared with many refined carbohydrate foods. Researchers have found that replacing refined grains with legumes such as lentils can support healthier post-meal glucose levels and improve overall diet quality when included as part of a balanced eating pattern. There's another fascinating benefit. Because lentils digest so slowly, they may continue influencing blood sugar at your next meal, a phenomenon researchers call the second meal effect. In other words, a healthy lunch today may help support steadier glucose levels later in the evening. Adding them to your routine is surprisingly easy. Aim for about half to 1 cup of cooked lentils several times each week. Use them in soups, stews, salads, or replace part of the white rice on your plate. You'll increase fiber, protein, and important minerals, all while helping create a meal that's far more satisfying. And now, the biggest surprise of today's entire countdown becomes clear. We didn't lower blood sugar by eliminating carbohydrates. We lowered it by choosing better carbohydrates. In the next chapter, I'll show you how one patient combined these simple foods into everyday meals and achieved remarkable improvements over time. That real-life story ties together everything we've discussed and shows why consistency almost always beats perfection. At this point, you might be wondering whether these foods can actually make a noticeable difference in real life. The answer is that they can, but not because of one miracle ingredient. It's because small improvements begin working together. Let me share a story that reflects what many healthcare professionals see every day. Imagine someone in their early 60s who has been struggling with rising blood sugar for years. Their fasting glucose keeps climbing, their A1C is moving higher, and they're worried that another medication may soon be necessary. They've already tried cutting out bread, skipping fruit, and avoiding desserts, yet their numbers barely change. Instead of eliminating more foods, they begin making a different kind of change. Breakfast becomes 2 eggs with half an avocado instead of a sugary cereal. A handful of walnuts replaces afternoon cookies. Lentils appear on the dinner table twice a week instead of white rice. Fatty fish becomes part of the weekly meal plan. A sprinkle of Ceylon cinnamon goes into morning oatmeal, and a salad is topped with fresh broccoli sprouts. None of these changes seem dramatic by themselves, but together they begin transforming the way each meal affects the body. Within a few weeks, post-meal blood sugar readings become more stable. Morning glucose begins trending downward. Energy improves because there are fewer dramatic highs and crashes throughout the day. Most importantly, these habits become sustainable because they don't rely on constant restriction or hunger. That's the lesson I hope you remember. Long-term health is rarely built by one perfect meal. It's built by hundreds of ordinary meals that gently move your body in the right direction. And that's exactly what today's 10 foods have in common. Each one supports a different part of your metabolism. Alone, the effect may be modest. But together, meal after meal, week after week, they create an eating pattern that works with your biology instead of constantly fighting against it. Now, let me bring all 10 foods together into one simple system, because once you see the pattern, you'll understand why this approach is often much easier to maintain than simply trying to avoid carbohydrates forever.